we say there's up to 1 million over 75s who previously received free licenses who are refusing to pay their license. Many of them because they can't afford it, but also an equal number probably who could afford it, but on principle don't want to give up this welfare benefit. So it is a big revolt that is taking place. In fact, a lot of them are saying to us, bring it on. They're getting fed up of throwing reminder letters into the bin. And a lot of them are saying, well, you know, the next step presumably is that the BBC will start trying to fine us. And then if we don't pay the fine, then obviously they can actually invoke criminal proceedings, and potentially people end up in jail. But all the time, and the media has covered this as well, with examples of older people, often in their 80s or 90s, who are saying, look, we've got nothing to lose. We think this is a very important stance that we're taking. And if it means getting a load of publicity by us going to jail for a few days, then we'll do it. And of course, they always say, and we'll get free TV in prison as well, is the general attitude. So there won't be hundreds of thousands of people that court jail, but there'll certainly be enough if it happens. You know, if the BBC do push this, there'll certainly be enough to create a major revolt. I get a load of emails, you know, quite a few a week, which say, you know, I'm prepared to go to jail if necessary over this. They don't think it would actually come to that, but then they're certainly going to push it as far as they can. And that rings home to a lot of people. You know, we're on a very small pension. If it's the new state pension, they're on £175 a week, and they're expected to pay nearly all of that for a license when they're already struggling with heating, food and everything else. So there's a lot of reasons why it's striking a chord. And I think the last one I would mention is that they're pretty fed up of being ignored and pushed around and taken for granted. And you know, the revolt that we've inspired in a way it has actually shown that resentment about being taken for granted is actually boiling to the surface. Well, they've had quite a few years to budget for this, haven't they? So it's a pretty lame excuse. They do seem to be able to find money for their priorities. So they had a spanking new broadcasting house a few years ago. They do still pay large salaries, not just to celebrities, but also to all their executives and so on. So they should have enough money available. And another point that I would make is, we don't usually get into arguments about how good the programs are and so on, but many people are saying to us, look, at the moment we're getting a diet of repeats. The BBC can't be spending so much money on programming during this pandemic period as it did in the past, because we're not getting new series. Yes, I think both the BBC and the government have thought it would go away. I think they first of all thought that, you know, after the initial sort of protests last August, that things would basically fade away. They thought that if they issued sufficient numbers of reminders and threats to older people, that most people would cave in and they'd be left with a very, very small hardcore that they could deal with at their leisure. But this is not happening. After the well, I don't really want to get into spats with personalities. I mean, other people can do that. We've had a lot of support from celebrities as well across the board. I don't want to get into individuals, but you know, there will be some of our members who obviously respond angrily to those sorts of comments. I won't say more than that, to be honest. But I'm not going to say something nasty about Gary Lineker, but I would welcome the support of all celebrities for our cause, and we have had many of them. I think even Gary Lineker at some stage expressed some support for our cause. So I don't particularly want to slag him off as an individual. Others will do that, no doubt. So what we're basically holding firm, and the next step will be down to the BBC. So we are waiting at some stage for the BBC to say, right, we've had this enforcement amnesty. We're not fining the over 75s at the moment. We're not sending round enforcement officers to the over 75s. They've not said how long that will last. At some stage, they're going to have to decide what next to do, because since Christmas, they've been sending out more and more reminder letters. And as I said, most of those are going in the bin. They've got to decide whether to harden things up and start sending people round. Now, if they do that, then we will step up our campaign, and we will issue appropriate advice to our members in this position about how they should handle any enforcement visits. So the BBC needs to think carefully about how it treads from here on in.